a culture of Eucharistic solidarity. I'd like to start out with a quote from the Second Vatican Council document on the Church called Lumen Gentium. It simply begins, "Christ is the light of the nations." It goes on to explain the mystery of the role that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit play in the Church's life. And then it says, Christ instituted this new covenant, calling together a people made up of Jew and Gentile, making them one, not according to the flesh, but in the Spirit. This was to be the new people of God. And so from the time we're baptized into the Christian community, we are not the same. At baptism, we were anointed as Christ was anointed, priest, as people who pray, prophet, as people who teach and share faith, and king, a people who serve. We are different, yet we are the same in the Spirit. While the church is a building that houses our worship space where we celebrate the liturgy, the church is made up of individuals who stand in need of God's healing and mercy. The church is an institution with a certain structure of hierarchy. Because our God has brought us together as one, we can rightly and with a humble heart declare that we are the church. The Nicene Creed begins, "I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible." Looking back at Lumen Gentium, we read, "God gathered together as one all those who in faith look upon Jesus as the author of salvation and the source of unity and peace, and established them as the church, that for each and all it may be the visible sacrament of saving unity." At the Mass, we hear, "Go forth, glorifying the Lord by your life." This is how we are the visible sign of the Church to the world. O'Malley writes, "We are called to Eucharistic coherence, to receive the gift of love given in the Blessed Sacrament, and thereby to offer that same gift of love to our neighbors." He wrote about how it is so important that the church engages with the city, or in other words, be aware of those outside the walls of the church building. He wrote a beautiful phrase which I believe puts our beautiful works of mercy and our mission as sister parishes into perspective. He said, "We are called to engage into the public square, to create spaces of love." Imagine if before all of the activity and the organization of all of our parish ministries, each would first create a space of love. In 1985, I was a busy teacher of music in the public school, directing music as a volunteer at my parish and discerning a call to lay ecclesial ministry. My mentor and spiritual director at the time suggested that as part of my reflection, I work with one of his former students at a Catholic worker house in Phoenix, Arizona. So between Christmas and New Year, I joined a beautiful community of both lay and clergy who ministered to the homeless population in the city. Mike Baxter, a friend, then a priest of Holy Cross and a Notre Dame grad, picked me up at the airport. We traveled to our destination in his very old orange Volkswagen van, discussing the issue of homelessness. Innocently, I asked him, "Why don't governments work harder on solutions to homelessness?" He said, "While that is important, I prefer to be with the people, get to know them, and minister to their immediate needs, and I leave politics to the others." At the time I was thinking, I am now completely out of my comfort zone. What have I gotten myself into? Among other inspiring experiences, I was introduced to the life and writings of Father Daniel Berrigan, a Jesuit priest, American writer, anti-war activist who grew up in Syracuse, New York. His reflection, "When I hear bread breaking," is one of my favorite reflections on the Eucharist. He writes, "When I hear bread breaking, I see something else. It seems almost as though God never meant us to do anything else. So beautiful a sound, the crust breaks up like manna and falls all over everything. And then we eat. Bread gets inside humans. Sometime in your life, hope you might see one starved man, the look on his face when the bread finally arrives. Hope you might have baked it, or bought it, or even kneaded it yourself. For that look on his face, for your hands meeting his across a piece of bread, you might be willing to lose a lot, or suffer a lot, or die a little even. Having reached the end of our series on becoming Eucharistic people, we must continue to create a deeper Eucharistic culture in our lives and in our parish life. Pope Francis reminds us of love and the Eucharistic presence of Christ. The power of God, which is love, descends into our poverty to transform it. When we hear the word proclaimed and when we approach the Holy Eucharist, our hearts are changed. May all who worship in our sister parishes find that all are welcome, no matter where they are in their journey, that each one is respected and inspired to live out their faith. Now, the work of the Eucharistic revival continues. Because of the Holy Eucharist, may we be forever changed. And I pray that we will create those spaces of love in every area of our parish life and service.